Hey everyone, welcome back to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
Hey, so today's video is going to be on age gap romances. So Mandy and I each have 5 age gap romances that we love. And this is like Mandy's trope. Like yes. She loves herself a good age gap. I had to like dig for mine. But we're going to give you some of our favorite 5-star age gap romances. And so before we get started, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below and definitely give us your likes and comments. We would love to see some comments. And without further ado, Mandy, what's your first?
Okay, before I start, I have to give a shout out to my very favorite age gap romance because it was my very first one, and that is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. And we will have to do a video on like the really popular ones. I also just have like an age gap romance cannot be complete without mentioning Torn and Don't Kiss the Bride by Carian. So again, we will do another video on those really popular ones, but we wanted to bring you some that maybe you haven't heard of. Just to give you some more choices. One of my biggest pet peeves in age gap is when the couple separates for like a lengthy period of time based on like the girl being too young and there needs to be space. And those are not my favorites. I like the angst. I like the age gap to truly matter. And I really like when they trust their feelings and they make it work. So that being said, my first book is, and all of mine are 5-star reads, like beyond 5-star reads. So my first book is Grayson by Eugene. This is about Angie. She's 24. She's a nurse. She's really struggling financially and she needs extra funds because she's trying to like pay for her apartment and her student loans and all of this stuff and kind of get on her feet. So she gets hired by this 19-year-old who's living off of the family money to clean this house. And this is like a hoarder house. Not like if you've ever watched the show Hoarders where there's like food and like gross stuff everywhere. It's not like that. This is like hoarders, like there's stacks of books like in weird like maze type things throughout the house. There's just a lot of stuff. And so she's supposed to go through and like organize it and get rid of stuff that just needs to be tossed. But the little side note here is his dad, who is mentally unwell, lives upstairs and he says, just leave him alone. Just ignore him. Just clean the downstairs. And she's like cleaning and she starts to really worry about this old man living upstairs and like pretty unsafe conditions because of how much stuff is in this house. So she decides to go upstairs and check on him because she gets worried. The son never comes by. Like nobody seems to come and go. And she's like, how is he eating? Like what's happening? So she goes upstairs and she ends up finding him does she? And he is hot. Like he's old enough to have a 19-year-old son, but that's like it. He's middle-aged. He's not like this old man, that frail old man that she thought she was going to find. And so they strike up kind of a weird friendship to begin with, because the back of the book will tell you he has schizophrenia. She does not know what's going on though at the time. And so he's got some really odd habits, some paranoias, things like that. But she still strikes up this friendship with him and it really starts to grow. And their friendship turns into a true love. And so the book is navigating this. The son complicates things, and just the mental illness piece is also a huge factor in their relationship. It's beautifully written. Probably would want to check triggers on this just because it does deal with some mental illness, but I felt it was beautifully written. I was captivated from like the first page all the way through. So it was definitely a wonderful book with many great elements. You have like the age gap happening. You have some barriers there with the mental illness and his paranoias and things. So it was so good. I loved it. Highly recommend it. Have you read it?
No.
You need to. I think you would really, really enjoy it.
Okay.
You should read it.
No.
It's okay. It's really good. Okay, next.
That's what she's going to say about all the books.
Yes, true.
So the first book I have is Truly's Biker by Misty Walker. Ring light, just likes to leave rings on the books when they're bad or when they're glossy. And yeah, this is Truly's Biker. This is the second in her biker series. I do believe they can be read as standalones. This one is about Truly, and I believe his name is Will. They call him, it's R-O-C-H is his name. I don't know if it's Rock or Roach or Roch. I am not sure how you pronounce it. The audio just came out. I obviously read it. I haven't listened to the audio, so maybe in the audio I'd find out for sure. But we're just going to call him Will for right now because I don't know what to call him. Rock, Roach, Roach. Anyhow. So when Truly is 8, Will and Truly's dad are in the military together. And they're overseas when her father gets killed. And Will is the one to come home and tell them, or he's home right after they find out. I can't remember if he told them or if somebody else does, but he's there. He agrees to protect them and to always be there when they needed somebody. And so he has been a part of her life since she was 8. She has been obsessed with him since she was 8. She's like, that is going to be my man someday. That is the man that I'm going to marry. So he is a part of a motorcycle club. He is like the hired assassin. He definitely does some bad things, but he also,
it's a true motorcycle club. Then,
it's a true motorcycle club. Yeah. But he also rescues dogs. So he has this really soft heart at the end. But a lot of them are like dogs that have been like the pit bulls and stuff that have been in fighting pits and stuff that have been traumatized. He has a whole bunch of those. And then he wears this sweatshirt, like a hoodie. And in his hood, he has this little tiny chihuahua named Karen. And it goes everywhere with him. Like it rides in his hood all the time. So cute. Like, and immediately you're like in love with this guy just because he carries around a dog named Karen in his hood. And so Truly is trying to get his attention. And so she pulls some real boneheaded moves, and he's always having to come rescue her. And one night she does something to get his attention that's a little too far. And when he comes to rescue her, it creates quite a bit of trouble for him and the club. And so that's where the book starts off. But it's their love story. So there is quite the age gap because she's 8 and he's obviously an adult when this starts off. So you have the trauma. He kind of blames himself for what happened to her dad. And so he has trauma from that and a lot of guilt. And then just the whole biker life on top of it. So I do love this. This was a 5-star read. Out of all the books in this series, this one so far has been my favorite. I do have a couple more to read, but it was really good.
My next one is called Beautiful Monster by Sara Cate. I don't really know why it's called Beautiful Monster because I don't think of Alex as a monster at all, but who knows? He's a rich playboy. He moves in on the other side, like their backyard neighbors. They live in an area where it's hot out, there's pools. And so he sees Sunny with her mom and her sister out by the pool quite frequently. And the concerning part for Alex is that Sunny's mom and sister are very much seeking the attention of males in any way they can, like flaunting themselves and that sort of thing. And the mom constantly is having parties with males over. And that attention is starting to be focused a little bit. That male attention is going on to Sunny. And Sunny really wants nothing to do with it. She wants to save up her money and get out of here. But she's like, kind of stuck there because she just graduated from high school. So she's trying to figure out like how she's going to save up money and move away because she just really wants nothing to do with the life that her mom and sister are leading. And Alex becomes concerned that things are just not healthy over there. And so he kind of takes an interest in her strictly as like somebody needs to do something. Like this mom is like a little crazy. And so he hires her to paint a mural in his pool house. And so they start spending a lot of time that way and then pretty much instantly kind of have this attraction to each other. And it goes from there. It is a great storyline, great characters. It's really easy to read with not a lot of angst. And it's a really good age gap romance. I loved it. So good. I don't want to say too much more about it because it'll give away stuff that's happening, but that's how the story starts. And I thought it was a really great read. I loved reading it.
Good. Definitely add that one to the list.
Yes.
Yes. So the next book for me is Filthy Rich by Serena Akeroyd. This is the second book in her 5 Points Mafia. Actually, I think If you look, it's technically the first book because the book before it is considered a prequel, Filthy. You get far more, you can read them as standalones, but you get far more enjoyment out of them if you read them all. And I do. Filthy is actually, the first one is actually one of my favorites as well. I love all the books in the series. But this one is about Owen O'Donnelly, and Inessa. So at the end of the first book, and they do go over it again in this book, but we see that Owen is set up in an arranged marriage with Inessa. So Owen's family is the Irish mafia. They run the 5 Points in New York. And Inessa's family is the Russian Bratva. And so to create an alliance, there is a wedding arranged between the two of them. At the time, I believe Inessa is 16. She has to wait 2 years to get married to Owen. Owen at the time is I believe he's like 28, if I'm not mistaken. At that time, he could be a little bit older because I know that the age factor does come in because then they wait 2 years and he's like, I don't want to marry a child. He is the youngest of the 4 brothers, 4 or 5 brothers. There's a handful of boys. They're all hot and Irish. It's all good. But he's the youngest, but yet the first to get married out of the brothers and the only one so far to have had an arranged marriage. And so he's going into this kicking and screaming because this is not what he wants. She has known that she'd probably get married off. Her dad is not a nice guy to her. Instead of Owen coming to see her and getting to know her over those 2 years, his older brother actually does, which is very disappointing for her, but at least she has like an ally in the family. A day or so before the wedding, Inessa is telling her father that she doesn't want to get married or she doesn't want to go through with this. And her father hits her in the face and leaves a lovely bruise for the day of their wedding. And so when this book starts off, she's walking down the aisle and she gets down the aisle to Owen, who is like, nope, I don't want to do this, but I'm doing this for the family because I don't have a choice. My dad is making me do this because their dad, rules the family with an iron fist. And, he lifts the veil and he sees the mark on her face. And so after the wedding, he, when they go back to sign the marriage licenses, he's like, who did this to you? Who hit you? And it comes out that it was her dad. And Owen flies off the handle and goes after her dad. So you're totally getting that, hurt her and you'll die vibes from him because, that's his wife. Now he is under her protection and no one's going to hurt her again. And so you have this timid girl who's been, in this situation for a while with an abusive father. And then you have this mafia guy who is like, is not a good guy as far as what he's done for the family, but you also have that family unit of his family. His family is very close and I do love that part, but this is their story. This is all about Inessa coming out of her shell and them developing their romance. There's this big age gap between them, which is mentioned quite a bit in the beginning. But I do love this book. I love this whole series. So definitely go read Filthy Rich.
Okay. Mm-hmm. My next one is called The Pool Boy. So this is very different from what you normally find when you look for age gap romance, because this is where the woman's older and the guy is younger. So he is her pool boy. He's 24. And she just found out that, she caught her husband with his boss, who's the guy. And so she's just kind of like, they're older. I think they're like in their late 30s, early 40s. They've been together for a while. They did not have kids. And so she's like, her whole world is crashed down because like her husband and her getting divorced, he cheated, he's gay, like she just has so many feelings she's trying to process through all of this. And so she is out in her backyard, and this is part of Nikki Sloane's, I don't think I even said that, Nikki Sloane's Nashville neighborhood. And this neighborhood, if you've read any of these books, it is wild. It is wild.
It is not the neighborhood I'd be moving to with a family right now, just saying.
So she has like a high fence around her backyard. So she thinks that she can go out into like the pool, sunbathe and stuff. And she decides to do it nude. And she feels like she's secure back there and walks the pool boy because he comes by to check on the chemicals or something. And
as you do. I mean, as you do, right?
Yes,
Like there's no excuse.
And he finds her and he likes what he sees. And so they kind of start a little bit of a fling type relationship. Her best friend has been encouraging her to get back out there and to date, but
just not her child.
The best friend's son is the pool boy. Oh, it's a really, like, even though this sounds like a major cliche, like older woman, pool boy, you know, like Stacy's mom or Mrs. Robinson, like it feels like that. It actually was so well written, which is kind of funny because this Nashville neighborhood, like I said, is wild. So I was surprised that I loved this book as much as I did. It had some great plot. They actually really help each other grow in many areas and they truly care for each other. It's not just some weird like fantasies like, oh, the pool boy or oh, this hot, you know, older woman. It's not like that. It's truly well written and it's a really good, it is definitely steamy, but it is a very good age gap romance. So I highly recommend it.
Especially for like a reverse age gap.
Yes.
You know, you've got the older woman, younger boy, younger guy. Yeah. So my next read, now this looks like a big, this is 3 books in one. This is the first 2 books. So this is by M. Robinson. The first one is Road to Nowhere, and it's a duet. So you've got Road to Nowhere, and then Ends Here is the second book. The third book is just a brother's book. So this is just a big old bind up.
So the first 2 are the age gap?
Yes, the first 2 are the age gap. So this starts out, like, okay, I just have to say, this is an MC romance. But this is a gritty MC romance. Like, this is the type of MC that I like. Like, you can't have them being flowery and doing whatever. Like, they're 1%ers MC. They're out there causing mayhem and doing the bad stuff. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So I need that gritty MC. I love M. Robinson's writing. I love everything I've read by her. So this one is definitely an angsty, I wrote down angsty emotional turmoil. Like it's got it. So this is somewhat of a slow burn in the first book because when we first meet Creed, he's just turning 18. He has been from birth, he's known and he's been groomed to become the president of his father's motorcycle club. And he meets little Mia when she is 9 on her 9th birthday. Her older brother, who's the same age as him, is his best friend. And Mia immediately decides that they're going to be the best of friends. And he's like, what is this little girl? This little girl is like, you know, she's cute as a bug's ear, but she's just a little girl. And that ain't the type of girls I'm into. So he's, you know, a little standoffish. But they end up meeting like every year, basically on her birthday. They end up getting together, or he ends up seeing her. Something major happens in this book. And it's an event that kind of shook all of us when it happened, but he joins the military after that event happens, and he's in the military with her brother. And so while he's gone in the military and she's growing up, she writes letters to him and he will write back. And it's really cute to see that play out with them. And then he comes home, and I think he does 2 tours, I want to say. He doesn't just do the one, he does more than 1 tour. And when he comes home to become a part of this MC and to like accept his path in life that he's always had, Mia's there. And I believe she's 17 at this point. And he realizes that on her birthday, he sees her and he's like, yeah, she's grown up and now I have to stay away because I'm attracted to her. And there's such a huge age gap. I can't do this. I don't want to bring her into this. And so this is their story. It's a very long story. There's a lot of ups and downs. Like I said, it's angsty and crazy. Definitely check triggers. It's been a while ago that I read this, so I can't remember all the triggers. I do have to say there is trigger for miscarriage. So definitely check that. That is definitely one that I wouldn't want someone to go into not knowing about. So check it, but it was 5-star. I love this series, or the duet.
My next one is called The Other Brother by Daisy Jane. This is a favorite of mine. So this is like beyond a 5-star read. This is a favorite, and it breaks my heart that this book has been read so very little by people. So please go read this book. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you like age gap. So this is a run, don't walk. Go grab this book. Like, come on, people. This is such a good read. You're missing out. Okay, this is about Cordelia. Her something happened, I don't remember, with her mom, and so she's raised just by her dad. I think her mom died like right when she was like a baby or something. And so she's only known her dad. And for whatever reason, there's no other family really in the picture. And her dad ends up dying. We don't know why. We find out more as the book goes along, but her dad has passed away and she is going to go live with her uncle, who's not really her uncle. It's her dad's best friend, but she's grown up with him as her uncle her entire life. So she's very close to him. And so her uncle is just dealing with a lot, and we find out more towards the end of the book, but her uncle's dealing with a lot, and she has like nightly nightmares, and he comes running in and has to wake her up and kind of console her. And it really starts to take a toll on him because he's also just lost his best friend. And so he decides he just cannot deal with this anymore. Cordelia is a senior in high school. So this just makes me even sadder for her that all this has happened. And so he just takes her to his brother's house, which is a little ways away from where they live. His brother is a doctor. He's like a psychologist therapist, and he leaves her there. And so Quentin is the brother, and he is furious with his brother for doing this because he doesn't have his own children. He's a bachelor. He's older. And he just doesn't like want anything to do with this picture, but he feels so bad for Cordelia and all the trauma that she has already gone through and what her brother just did, that he decides that the least he can do is step up and be there for her. And so all of this is kind of new for him though. And so he like is like, okay, I absolutely hate my brother, but this is what we have to do. And this is a really slow burn. It is a little angsty, but it's like a slow burn done well, especially given everything that's happened to both of them for their relationship to build. This also has the virgin trope, and it's also done very well. I did not want this book to end. It was so good. I don't want to say a lot because there's stuff that happens that you just kind of have to know about, but I mean, how intriguing is this book? You have this girl who's dropped off with this like virtual stranger who feels so bad for her that he decides like, well, I'm going to have to take care of her. But yeah, he's super angry with his brother for basically being a coward and not dealing with this stuff and like manning up basically. So it's just all this stuff going on. And then you have Cordelia. She's like lost her dad. Her uncle like drops her off with this stranger. And so it's just such a sweet book on how all of this works out. I loved it.
Cool. You know what I hear? Like what I think of when you mention her name is Cordelia.
You better read it.
I will. But do you know what I think of?
What?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Takes me back. Cordy.
What's your book?
Okay. So you cannot have an age gap romance recommendation list without having Daddy Zeus on the list.
Oh, that is true.
It's true. So this is Welcome to the Darkside by Giana Darling. This is one of my favorite books of hers. Giana Darling is kind of hit or miss for me. Her writing is sometimes it's hard for me to get into depending on the books, but this one sucked me right in. So for those who have not read it, this is the story of Zeus and Lou. And the book starts out when little Miss Lou is, I want to say she's 7. And she is in the parking lot of their church. Her grandpa is the pastor and her dad is like the mayor, or he's in politics. He's running for certain offices. And there is a shootout that happens. Zeus is there. He's rode up on his Harley. He's the president of a motorcycle club. When the shootout happens, instead of running to her parents for protection, she sees the big bad tattooed biker, and that is who she runs to for protection. So right off the bat, you have this like, oh my gosh, here comes this little girl who's trusting me over the people who love her. Her parents are dicks. They're sorry.
Horrible.
They're horrible.
It actually made me so sad reading that book.
Yes, definitely. He takes a bullet for her. He ends up going to prison over the whole situation because it was like a turf war type thing between him and another group, or between his club and another group. And she ends up getting taken to the hospital, or he gets hit with a ball, but I think she got one in the shoulder or something. For some reason, they take her to the hospital, and she'd been telling her parents for quite a long time ago, or for quite a long time, that she didn't feel good. She was like giving her symptoms. And as a mom who has a child that I've had a couple of kids that have had some serious, let's not lie, I have all three of my kids have had some serious medical situations in the past. It's just, it's fun. It's fun at my house. As I'm reading this going, dude, the signs are all here. She has leukemia. Like, it was just right there. I just could not believe that these parents were just that stupid and that cruel. So this poor little girl starts treatment as Zeus goes to jail. So Zeus, when this happened, is 26, and he has 2 children that are roughly her age. And so she is going through treatment. The only person who is there by her side, it's not her parents, it's her nurse. And it is horrible. But she starts writing letters to Zeus while he's in jail, and he writes back. So he writes to his kids, and he writes to her. And I think the reason why he writes to her is that she has no one. He's aware of it. He's already writing to his kids, and he feels sorry for her as she's going through cancer treatment. So she goes into remission, and she still writes him, and it's kind of an off and on thing for them. I love reading their letters.
I could have read the whole book just as their letters. It was so good.
Yes, it was so good. I love reading their letters back and forth. When she is 16, the cancer comes back. And at this time, I believe Zeus is just starting to get out of jail, or he has just gotten out of jail, out of prison. And she, I believe she writes him then too. But when she goes through treatment again, and she's just coming out of treatment, she runs into Zeus and in person. And she's got this mindset that I don't know how long I'm going to live, and I'm going to live my life to the fullest. Screw my parents, because they weren't there for her during the second time either. Screw my parents. I'm going to live my life to the fullest, and I'm going to go after what I want. And what I want is Zeus. And so she pursues him pretty heavily in the beginning. It's more on her than on him, because like I said, huge age gap. But she pursues him. And then this is their story. This is what happens. I don't want to say anything else because I know it's like going to give everything away, but love the hype around this book is real. There's a reason why everybody loves this book. It's good. So go read it. It's definitely a favorite of mine, and everybody should read it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what's your last one?
I really enjoyed that book.
I know, me too.
Okay, my last one is Mr. Masters by TL Swan. This is also another read that like ranks really high for me. Yeah. This is about Brielle and Julian. Brielle just really needs a change of pace, and so her and her friend decide to apply to be nannies. They live in like Australia, and I think they come to London or somewhere outside of London. And Brielle is she's 26. She doesn't know what she wants to do with her life yet. And so this is why one of the reasons she's going for this. So she lies on the application about her experience and things, but she thinks she's going to go nanny for a woman. And when she gets there and it's Julian, she is thrown off. And so he has 2 kids already. They have a 13-year age gap. Their things start off a little bumpy because she doesn't really know what she's doing. The kids kind of give her a hard time. And it's just like some funny stuff happens. Like she accidentally runs him over with a golf cart.
I love it.
It is hilarious because she does not mean to. And then like his friends are with him, and so they're like giving him crap, and he's like limping away.
I'm laughing because I could see that, like, if somebody was like, "Hey, Mandy and Jessica, go drive the golf cart," someone's going to the hospital.
Yeah. So the book has funny stuff like that. Like I still will think like about that golf cart and it will crack me up. Like I told so many people about that when I was reading it, and I like reread that scene multiple times because it was so funny. Just picturing the whole thing and like her horror as she hits him, and then the kids are with her.
It makes me think of the time that we were on the jet skis. and Mandy was driving. I don't think anything major happened. I was just waiting. We were, it was our senior trip. We were just waiting for it to happen.
No, I did. I got in a wreck on the jet ski and my mom had to pay for damage.
I knew something happened. I just couldn't remember what happened. I didn't know if it was your fault or somebody else's, but okay.
I still feel strongly that it was not my fault because I wasn't moving, but apparently I was supposed to move in a different direction. I don't know. But if I'm not
20
moving,
years later, so
whatever. Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so after a while, they decide that there's like something kind of happening between them because she's nannying for the kids. They decide to keep it strictly professional. And so he starts emailing like her to request her presence at this hotel. And that's how their relationship starts. But as things go on, their once a week meetup at the hotel is no longer like it for them because they're around each other in the house all the time. She actually has separate quarters in the house, but she still lives there with them. So they see each other a lot. He does some interesting things that I don't know if I completely agree with or not. But still, he is an amazing character in this book. The couple feels so real too. Like a lot of times in romance books, you'll read and it's like, oh, we're together, everything's wonderful. And then like that 70% mark happens. And then that's when like something major happens or some big disagreement. But this couple actually has like fights and disagreements about things, and they feel so real to me. Like I love this couple, and they're probably the most real couple I've ever read about. It was really refreshing. And when I say that they have fights and disagreements, it's not like added drama. It's like normal stuff, because in this age gap, one of the reasons I love this is even though she's 26 and he's 39, he's been married, he has 2 kids. He does not want to start over. She's 26. She's just starting her life. So they're in such different places, and that age gap really makes that more serious too. So it is like the best read ever. And if you read it, nothing more for that golf cart scene, like read this book. It's so good. I love TL Swan though. Like I've read a few of her books and I always really enjoy them.
Yeah, TL Swan's good. I like her too. So the last book that we have for you, or that I have for you, is Last Light by Claire Kent. So this is a post-apocalyptic romance. This one, she has like a whole series, and I want to read the whole series. I just haven't had a minute to sit down and read it. They're all supposedly amazing. But this one is the first, and it is about Lane and Travis. So Lane so this is like 4 years after the apocalypse happened. People get sick and die, and I can't remember what the actual thing was that started killing people off, but people they get sick and then they get a fever, they die, as far as I can remember. So when we start the book, Lane has just lost the last person that's meant something to her in her life. And it was an adult, it was someone who was older. She's just lost that person. And so she's decided that she's going to travel to Fort Knox. It's 3 states away, that she has to travel to Fort Knox. That's where like a colony of people are at that are survivors. And as she starts the journey, now granted, this is 4 years into the apocalypse, so you can't just get into a car and drive. Fuel doesn't work after so long. It goes bad. And so cars are just not going to work after 4 years. So when I say she has to go, like she has to get there, it's going to be a trek. It's going to be a journey. Sometimes they can find a vehicle that works, but not always. And so she also has to like avoid, there's gangs that are out there that would take advantage of a girl. We wouldn't just take advantage, they just take the girl. There's scavengers, there's dangers along the way. And as she starts out, she runs into a guy who was a mechanic in her town, and his name is Travis, and he has just buried his son. And so he's lost his wife and his son. I know, it's horrible. Mm-hmm. And so now he's also going to travel to Fort Knox. So he stuck around. He thought that, he wasn't going to lose his son, that he and his son were immune to it. And then his son ends up getting sick 4 years later. So he's dealing with that trauma. He's also like the gruff, grunty guy. Like he just doesn't talk a lot. He'll grunt. And it's funny because she mentions that quite often. Like there's not actual words that come out of the guy. He grunts.
At least he's not moaning
over his food that they find. Yeah. But yeah, so they have to travel to Fort Knox together. Now she's 20 And he is in his 30s because he's had a whole family and stuff. And so this is their story of them, how they get, like, they're going to come across things, they're going to come up against things, you know, are they going to stick together? What's going to happen in the end of the world when you've lost everyone you love and you have to rely on each other to get to where you need to go. So this is their story. So this was a 5-star read for me as well. So that is all we have for you guys with age gap. Mandy loves age gap. We will do another age gap at some point in time here soon. This is her thing. So definitely make sure that you guys hit that like and subscribe button down below. Let us know what your favorite age gap romance is in the comments below.
Okay, make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us. Until then, go read.
Go read.